So 3M, we are doing a summary today of the transformations we looked at yesterday. If you haven't finished that up, you should do that. You will remember better if you've spent some time on the graphing calculators looking at things. But we're going to look for a second at Geometry Sketchpad. If you have a basic parabola, and the equation is in the upper right corner, f at x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. The a value, sorry, I can't seem to mark on that. The a value will change the shape. It will change how skinny or wide or upside down it is. So the bigger and bigger our a value, the skinnier and skinnier that parabola. If our a value is negative, our parabola will go upside down. And the bigger the negative number, the steeper and skinnier it is as well. So that's one of the observations we were hoping you saw yesterday. The h value, which is the number in the bracket. Things in brackets are always opposite to what you might think. So x subtract a number moves the parabola to the right. So if my h is 5, 10, I've moved it over to the right 10, because my equation is x subtract 10 squared, and so on. If it is x subtract, you are moving to the right. Your k value is the number on the end. If you have numbers outside of the brackets, those are vertical changes. So that k value is going to move the parabola up and down. So if I have an equation with plus 8, it's going to move that parabola up 8 from the axis. If I have a number on the end that would be subtract, so now my k is negative. If I had subtract here, it would be below the x-axis or moved down. Let's make a summary sheet about that. Y equals a, x minus h squared plus k. Those letters don't mean anything particularly. They just represent the different transformations we can do to a basic parabola. Your basic parabola, is y equals x squared. We call that our parent function of a quadratic. If you put a number at the front, a, it is outside of the bracket, so it is a vertical change, and it is going to change the shape of the parabola. If a is positive, our parabola opens up as you would expect. If a is between 0 and 1, then I have a fraction for a, and my parabola is going to be wide or vertically compressed. If my a value is positive but bigger than 1, then my parabola is going to be skinny or a vertical expansion or stretch. If my a value is negative, then my parabola is upside down or flipped. So that's a lot of information from A. The K value is also outside of the brackets, so it's also a vertical change, up and down. If you were to add K, you are going to move your parabola up. If you are going to have a negative K, you are going to move your parabola down. The H value is in brackets, and it is a horizontal change. It is going to be to the left or to the right. So if you have x subtract h, it is going to be a move to the right. Let's just write the other possibility in brackets. If you have x plus a number, let's do 3. That is going to be to the left, backwards to what you would think. Let's do one example before you get going on your chart here. If you have y equals negative 4, x plus 8 squared minus 7, the first thing I see is the square, and that tells me I have a quadratic. And my basic parent function is y equals x squared, and I know what that looks like. It's this guy. And all those numbers tell me transformations of what it'll look like when I'm finished. On your summary table, you're going to be writing things in columns, and the first is that they're asking you for the value of those transformation numbers. So the first number that I see is a at the beginning, and it is a negative 4. My h value in here is 8, and I'm leaving a little space there. The k value, sorry, h and k, my k value is negative 7. The last thing that it asks you for is for the vertex, which is hk. Remember that my h value, I am expecting to see x subtract a number. I have x plus 8. I know that that means 8 left, because everything in brackets is backwards to what you might think. But my h value would technically then be negative 8, because in my vertex I go 8 left, 7 down. Be careful with that h left and right business. We have 3 other columns we would fill out on our summary table. We're going to skip the number of x-intercepts for a moment and do transformations starting from y equals x squared. So I am looking at my equation, and I'm going to write in English what is going on with my parabola. My a value tells me, first of all, that it's upside down. My a value is 4, so it tells me that it is skinny, which is not a very mathematical word, but it has been stretched. It's like you grab it and you pull upwards, stretched by a factor of 4, 4 times as skinny. We'll look at that a little bit more later. The 8 we already talked about is a horizontal translation. Weird. It is left. 8. And the last one is a vertical change. It is down 7. Properly written, this would be a vertical translation. Down 7. And the horizontal translation. Left 8. The last column we're going to go back to is where it says the number of x-intercepts. We know from grade 10 that a parabola could have one x-intercept, like the picture that I have drawn for you. It hits the x-axis right there, one x-intercept. Sometimes you have a parabola that has no x-intercepts because it's floating up here. Sometimes you can have a parabola that has 2 x-intercepts, something like that. The best way to come up for an answer for this column is to draw yourself just a tiny little sketch. So if I have a parabola that is upside down, the skinny part doesn't matter as much, but it's to the left 8, down 7, there's my vertex, and it's upside down, I'm not going to have any x-intercepts. It does not touch the x line. So can you work in your tables on the summary sheet 4.2.2, filling out those columns as we have done for this example?